Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're tackling a concept that gets thrown around a lot, but maybe isn't always truly grasped: self-esteem. It's really a journey into what makes us tick, right? How we see ourselves and why that perception, that internal view, shapes our entire world.
Yeah, definitely.
And for this deep dive, our listeners shared some really fascinating source material. It's excerpts from a book called Isen.pdf, which translates to The Power of Self-Esteem.
Right.
It really digs into the core of self-belief. So our mission today is to pull out the most, powerful nuggets of insight, things to help you navigate your own understanding of this, well, vital human trait.
And what's really interesting, what jumped out at me right away, is the translator's introduction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they talk about this personal journey, feeling kind of emptied by university life, and then finding this missing piece in the idea of self-esteem. That immediate personal connection just highlights how fundamental this is, to our sense of self, our well-being.
That really does set the stage powerfully. Okay, so let's unpack this. Our deep dive will define what self-esteem really is.
Beyond the buzzwords.
Exactly. Why it's so crucial, what can maybe get in the way of developing it, and maybe most importantly, how we can actively cultivate it in ourselves and maybe help others too.
So like a plan.
So the book kicks off by saying self-esteem is, well, fundamental in psychology. It shapes key choices, essential for growth, healthy living. But what exactly is it for our listeners who've heard the term, a million times?
Right. And the source itself acknowledges that. Lots of definitions floating around. But it really stresses the importance of getting a clear, precise definition to avoid all the confusion.
Makes sense.
So you have early thinkers like William James back in 1890. He talked about it as this ratio, between our pretensions, what we claim about ourselves, and our actual successes.
Huh. Interesting metric.
Yeah, the source explains, if your claims are way bigger than your achievements, self-esteem can dip. If achievements exceed claims, maybe it rises.
Okay.
Then you've got Stanley Cooper Smith. His definition is closer maybe to what we think of now. A person's evaluation of themselves, the respect they give themselves, seeing yourself as capable, important, worthy. The book notes that this is pretty close to James's view, actually.
And other researchers mentioned.
Yeah, Peterson, Bednar, Wells. They see it as a foundation for personal progress, how you value yourself based on core beliefs. There's even the California Task Force definition, belief in one's worth and personal significance, having a personality that respects oneself and is socially responsible. And then there's that simpler one you sometimes hear. I am capable and lovable, but the source warns that can be a bit misleading on its own.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of nuance packed in there, and the source itself flags the vagueness, right? Capable of what? Significant by whose standards? Worthy based on what? So what's the takeaway from all these definitions?
Well, this raises a really key point. The translator actually says the main goal of this book is less about giving immediate solutions and more about defining self-esteem properly.
Ah, laying the groundwork first.
Exactly. Because without that shared understanding, that clear definition, how can we effectively tackle the challenges or, foster its growth? It's not just about feeling good for a moment.
Okay, so definition is key. Why then, according to the source, do we even need self-esteem? Is it just like a nice bonus, or is it more fundamental?
Oh, it argues it's deeply fundamental. It
Yeah.
stems from two core facts about being human.
Okay.
First, our survival, our success in life, depends heavily on our conscious ability to think, to navigate our environment.
Right, it makes sense. We're thinking creatures.
And second, and this is crucial, conscious thinking isn't automatic. It's not like breathing. It's a choice we make.
A choice.
Yet we have this unique power, right, to reason, to choose, to integrate experiences. Our consciousness, our awareness is central to everything, our survival, our well-being.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. The book says thinking is an active choice. We aren't just programmed to think, and not thinking or sort of suppressing that conscious awareness that can lead to negative stuff.
Precisely. And that leads to a critical point the book makes. The danger of not thinking. When we choose not to engage our conscious mind, especially when things get tough, that can lead straight into anxiety, pain, even self-destructive behaviors, like addiction. The book offers a really insightful perspective on addiction, actually.
What's that?
It suggests addicts aren't necessarily escaping reality because they're inherently weaker. Often it might be because they're more sensitive to pain and fear, and they choose escape rather than facing the problems head on, choosing not to think it through.
Wow. That's a different angle. So self-esteem isn't just about feeling good. It's tied to our basic ability to function, to thrive as conscious beings.
Exactly. The source calls it a powerful human need. It says it's essential for psychological health and for, well, effective action in the world.
Okay, so if it's that vital, where does it come from? Are we born with a certain amount, or is it mostly shaped by, our experiences?
The book really points to the family environment as playing a massive role. Parents can either uh, foster a child's self-esteem or sometimes unintentionally damage it.
How so?
Well, the source gives some pretty powerful examples of behaviors that can hinder it. Things like belittling the child
Ouch.
or imposing their own thoughts and feelings, basically denying what the child is actually feeling, treating the child unfairly, even overpraising without real reason, or having confusing, inconsistent rules.
That inconsistency sounds tricky.
Definitely. Also, invalidating the child's understanding of reality, making them doubt themselves, threatening severe punishments. Obviously, sexual abuse is mentioned as deeply damaging, and even teaching the child they are inherently bad, worthless, or sinful.
Gosh, that's a heavy list.
It is, and there's this one anecdote the book shares. It's very telling.
Yeah.
A mother seems upset. Her child asks, Mommy, are you sad? But the mother denies it, says she's fine.
Okay.
Then the father steps in and tells the child, don't make Mommy upset.
Oh.
Right. So the child is left totally confused. They're blamed for feelings they didn't cause, and they learn to basically ignore or invalidate their own perception of what's happening.
That's a profound example. Really common, probably.
Exactly. It shows how children can be damaged, how they learn to doubt their own reality.
And that denial, even if the parents mean well, maybe trying to protect the child, it can instill this deep self-doubt.
Absolutely. The source notes that many adults end up in therapy years later precisely because of these deep-rooted feelings. Worthlessness, inadequacy, trapped by this lack of self-belief that started way back.
Okay, so we've talked about what it is, why it matters, and how it can be hindered. The source then clarifies that self-esteem isn't just one single thing, right? It identifies two essential parts. What are they?
Precisely. And these aren't like alternative definitions. They're presented as fundamental principles, the core pillars.
Got it.
First, there's personal efficacy, sometimes called self-efficacy. This is basically your confidence in your own mind, your ability to think, learn, understand, make choices, and cope with life's challenges. It's belief in your competence.
Confidence in your ability to cope.
And the second pillar is self-respect or self-worth. This is the belief in your right to exist, your right to be happy, your right to pursue your goals and desires, and importantly, feeling worthy of love and respect.
Your inherent worthiness.
Exactly. Those two, personal efficacy and self-respect, are the core of healthy self-esteem. They show up as our ability to live consciously, take responsibility, act with integrity. Without them, the book says, we struggle, we feel anxious, inadequate.
That makes a lot of sense, breaking it down like that. So if it's built, not just given,
Right.
how do we actually build it? How do we cultivate these two pillars?
Well, it really comes down to conscious choices, commitments we make day in, day out. The book outlines a whole set of choices that directly impact self-esteem.
Okay, like what?
Instead of just listing them all, we can maybe group them. It's about choosing action over just being passive, engaging with life.
Right, not just letting things happen to you.
Exactly. Choosing conscious thought over just, drifting or being thoughtless. Deliberately using your mind. Choosing to analyze problems instead of denying they exist.
Facing things head on.
Yeah. And then there's a big theme around self-honesty and integrity. Choosing truthfulness, accepting reality as it is, even when it's uncomfortable. Being authentic.
Authenticity, that
Yeah,
seems key.
Definitely. And upholding your values consistently. Integrity. Also a commitment to growth. Striving to learn. Being open to new knowledge. This is huge. Being willing to see and correct your own errors. Not denying mistakes.
Learning from mistakes, not hiding them.
Right. And finally, responsibility and coherence. Taking ownership of your life. Making sure your words, beliefs, actions actually line up. Acting rationally. It's these choices, made consistently over time, that build self-esteem. It's dynamic.
It sounds like a continuous practice, not a destination you just arrive at.
That's exactly the feeling.
Okay, this brings up something people often wonder about. Can self-esteem be too high? You hear about people with inflated egos, right?
Yes. The source tackles this directly. It clarifies that true, authentic self-esteem actually cannot be too much.
Really?
Yeah. What we often mistake for excessively high self-esteem Arrogance, bragging, putting others down, needing to feel superior. That's actually described as a sign of low or damaged self-esteem.
So it's like a compensation.
Kind of. People with genuine, healthy self-esteem don't need to belittle others or constantly prove themselves. Their joy comes from within, from being who they are, from growing, not from comparing themselves and trying to be better than.
That distinction between true and false self-esteem feels really crucial then. How does the book elaborate on this false kind?
It says false self-esteem is built on shaky ground. It's based on external things like social status, how attractive you are, what group you belong to, or, and this is a big one, getting approval from others.
Like external validation.
Exactly. The source really emphasizes that chasing that external validation, whether it's needing your family's approval or achieving huge worldly success, cannot build real self-esteem if it means you have to abandon your inner truth or live inauthentically.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, there's a really compelling one in the book. A CEO, super successful by all external measures, making tons of money, respected in his field.
Sounds like he should have high self-esteem.
You'd think, but he's deeply miserable. Why? Because his parents basically forced him into business. His true passion, his deep desire, was to be a scientist. So all that external success, it gave him the zero internal pride, no real sense of accomplishment because it wasn't his path. It wasn't aligned with his authentic self.
So even achieving quote-unquote great things, if it's not what truly resonates with us, our self-esteem takes a hit.
That's precisely the argument. External achievements, external validation, parental approval, job titles, whatever, they don't grant self-esteem. It's fundamentally an internal state, a personal experience based on how you feel and think about yourself, not what others think about you.
Wow. That perspective is, yeah, it's profound. It really means you can't just outsource your sense of worth.
You absolutely can't. And the book talks about how people with low self-esteem often fall into this trap. They constantly seek confirmation from others, and this can lead to relationship the source actually calls poisonous.
Poisonous? How so?
Because they become almost addicted to that external approval fix, which paradoxically just weakens their internal sense of self even more. It's a downward spiral.
That makes sense. Okay, shifting slightly, there was that interesting bit you mentioned earlier about intelligence and a study with American students and math. How does that fit in?
Right, that connects back to this idea of false self-esteem. The source cites this standardized math test given to 13-year-olds in, I think, 6 different countries. The results were fascinating. Dutch students actually scored highest in math proficiency. But guess who ranked first in believing they were good at math?
Let me guess. American students.
You got it. Despite scoring poorly overall, the book uses this to illustrate a kind of false and simple self-esteem that might be, perhaps inadvertently, fostered by some educational approaches.
How is it false?
Because it encourages a disconnect from reality. It kind of rewards feeling good about yourself regardless of actual competence or effort, which, unfortunately, can limit real growth. True self-esteem, the book argues, involves accepting reality, your strength, and your weaknesses, not denying the weaknesses.
So, accepting reality, making conscious choices, living authentically. If self-esteem is built from within like this, what's the ultimate takeaway for you, our listener, to carry forward from all this?
I think the core message boils down to this. Healthy self-esteem, genuine self-respect, they come from living consciously, responsibly, and truthfully. It's really a commitment we make to ourselves.
A commitment.
Yeah. It means consistently choosing awareness, choosing action, choosing integrity, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And the book finishes by introducing this really interesting concept, the most effective desire.
The desire to be effective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just wanting success, but having a deep interest in how things work, in knowing, in learning, persevering through challenges, finding solutions even when the answers aren't obvious. It's about overcoming that fear of inadequacy and embracing the whole messy process of problem solving.
So this is really a call to action for you listening. A reminder that deep down, you're stronger than your problems. You have the power, the capacity to navigate challenges. The source even introduces something called the contingency policy.
Yeah, it's an important one.
It's about not identifying yourself completely with your current problems or your external situation. Recognizing there's always a way forward, that your life, your potential, is bigger than just your immediate environment or whatever difficulty you're facing right now.
And that policy, it doesn't mean denying pain or difficulty exists, not at all, but it fosters resilience. It's this underlying belief that even when we feel inadequate, even when we stumble or have setbacks, we aren't defined by them. We can always find those missing pieces, as the translator put it, and make a conscious choice to move forward.
And in the end, the source kind of brings it full circle. Self-esteem isn't something someone gives you. You can't really measure it directly or force it from the outside.
It's
Instead,
consequence.
right, a consequence of your choices, a natural result of living consciously, taking responsibility for your thoughts, your actions, and courageously accepting reality, warts and all.
Well put.
Wow, what an impactful deep dive that was. We've really unpacked the vital nature of self-esteem, haven't we? From its psychological roots all the way to its profound impact on, well, everything. Our lives, relationships, even our ability to function effectively.
Yeah, this exploration really clarifies that self-esteem isn't just, a fleeting good mood or some kind of boastful mask we wear for others. It's that stable foundation, built on personal efficacy, knowing you can cope, and genuine self-respect, knowing you're worthy. And it's forged through that conscious, truthful, active engagement with life.
So as you go about your day, maybe something to think about is this. What's one small conscious choice you can make, maybe even right now, that affirms your personal efficacy, that deepens your self-respect just a little? Remember, the takeaway seems to be that true self-esteem isn't about achieving perfection,
Yeah, definitely not.
but about that continuous, often courageous journey of becoming more authentically you, one conscious choice at a time.
Which really leaves us with a final important question for you to ponder. In this world that's constantly demanding your attention, constantly trying to tell you what external things define your worth, how will you actively commit to cultivating that internal, authentic self-esteem, the kind that truly empowers you from the inside out?